Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. How are you feeling today? Are you a little woo curious? Well, I am. I'm feeling quite witchy. And that's why we are having this fun and interesting conversation with Eileen March. So today's conversation goes somewhere really ancient and incredibly relevant in some way to where we are in the world right now. I don't know about you, but things are feeling a little chaotic, a little interesting, a little bit like we're being taken back to where we started somehow, and that we're being asked to face and question a lot of what we had been taught. And some of what we were taught was that magic and intuition and spiritual powers or psychic abilities are fake or evil or to be feared. And so we're talking about this today with our guest, Eileen March, who is sharing about her own journey, brought up as an atheist in a family with zero interest in religion or anything spiritual, and her awakening, her activation, I don't know what to call it, but it's like an opening that happened a few years ago where she was drawn deeply, deeply into embracing a path of deep spiritual connection with nature, with intuition, and with what she calls the magic within. And so in today's episode, we're going to explore some fun questions that you might be curious about, like I was, which is, what does it really mean to be a witch in today's time? We're not living in like the 1800s anymore or the 1700s. We are living in 2026 today. And so what does that look like? What does it mean? And how, if you're interested, you can reconnect with the wisdom of your body and the wisdom that's inherent in the rhythms of nature, and how you can begin to heal this ancestral and cultural wound, this witch wound that has taught us, especially as women, to suppress our spiritual gifts and our inherent connection to nature and to the rhythms of nature and to the cycles of the planet. And so this conversation really is bringing together embodiment, seasonal living, intuition, and reclaiming the parts of ourselves that we have suppressed and buried and cut off, sometimes for generations. So as you're listening, you might start to think about, what is it that we call magic? What is it actually? I mean, this internet, this podcast is magic, if you ask me. Energy, vibration, moving through the body, moving through the air, the ether, space, and it reaches us somehow. And we're transforming vibrations into language, into color, into sensation. And all of this is happening without us having to think about it or know exactly how it's happening. It happens automatically. If you ask me, that's pretty fucking magical. Okay. Also, what are we storing? What are we carrying? What are we holding on to? More and more, science is showing us things about epigenetics, how we're carrying our ancestral, possibilities and potentialities. More and more, we're learning about the energetic field and things that get passed down or transmitted from families, from our environment that we're carrying in our field. It could be stored emotion. It could be certain patterns, habits, ways of thinking. All of these energetic imprints shape how we feel, not just in our body, but in our mind, in our emotions. And that also shapes how we age and how we're experiencing life. All of that's pretty amazing. And it's all happening without our conscious awareness. And this is what Angelica and I are tapping into with our upcoming program, the Radiant Energy Method, which is starting on March 28th. This is a 7-week interactive experiential journey where you are going to drop into your own inner connection. You're going to start to learn how to feel into your own spiritual body, into your soul, into this energetic field, and connect with some of these imprints and patterns and emotions that have been hanging out in your field, in your body for maybe lifetimes, but definitely this lifetime. And we are going to help you actually activate your body's innate intelligence, natural healing capacity, the ability to rejuvenate and to renew and to bring about balance and healing and harmony from the inside out. So if you're curious about this work, which you should be because this is cutting edge, this is where healing is going. We are all self-healers. And the more and more we're learning about our healing capacity and abilities, the more we're recognizing that it's not about taking something outside of you. It's not about doing more. It's about finding the space within to let go of what's inhibiting this natural energy and intelligence and healing capacity to be released, to do what it's within us to do, which is to help us live to our fullest capacity every single day and to allow us to feel this energy, this surge of power and energy inside of our bodies so that we're feeling so, so, so good. Right? How we can activate this innate healing capacity and capacity for regeneration. Send me a DM at Harmony Slater Official if you want more details or find the link in the show notes. Make sure you listen all the way to the end of this episode because I have some very, very powerful reflections that I want to share with you so that you can just reconnect to some of the topics and questions that we went into throughout this conversation. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm trying to start it a different way.
This is your host, Harmony Slater. Welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast, and this is your co-host, Russell Case. I am your co-host, Russell Case, and we're here with Eileen March, who is going to talk to us today. You've come all the way from Calgary.
Yeah.
Do you say Calgary? Do you do that?
Do you
say that? I have started to say Calgary. Yeah.
Calgary.
No.
Yeah,
Calgary.
Calgary. Yeah. Like
Canada, not Scotland.
Edinburgh, not Edinburgh.
No, I still say Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. And so Calgary. Yeah, so Calgary. They did a whole movement. Like people were talking about Cal and Gary, and it was a shopping mart.
That's not a movement.
It was a shopping mart.
That's a co-op.
Ad.
That's a co-op ad.
It's a co-op, yeah. So you are are you born and raised? You know about the co-op.
Oh, I do. I've been living in Calgary. Yeah, I say Calgary for sure.
Calgary.
Since 2003.
Oh.
I was born and raised in Canmore, so not far.
Oh, that's really Alberta, though.
It's very Alberta, yeah.
You're not. I noticed on your website you really push the Prairie Girl piece.
Oh, my very first photo shoot, I guess, just happened to be behind my house. It's very prairie.
Yeah, your home out there is like a farm, like a Like
no, it's just the wildlands. The Inglewood wildlands are right behind
It's in
me.
Inglewood. just
Where's that?
Like 20 minutes away from us, where
There-
the witch store is.
We have bobcats in our backyard. So if you're listening from home, it is the wildlands here.
It's the wildlands. We get lots of coyotes.
Yeah.
Coyotes.
Us too.
Yeah.
I want to talk today to you about some other things, not just where she lives in the city that
And
is near
that we
us.
both
Are your
live in.
parents?
Yes.
Are your parents from Alberta? Are they from here?
Not originally. They both moved to Banff in their 20s. My mom was from
Oh,
Winnipeg,
fun.
and my dad is born in Nova Scotia, but he grew up in Ontario.
Easterners. Intriguing. Are they Scottish by
Kate,
trade?
this is not an episode of Ancestry.com. That's a different podcast.
No,
Lots
my
of
folks
Scottish.
are from out east,
Okay.
from Toronto.
So I was a guest on Eileen's podcast,
The
Woo
Woo Curious.
Curious.
Yeah, I heard all about the Woo. You are Woo. Shoot, you're pretty far.
I think I'm
Yeah,
woo
you're more than
immersive.
curious.
Woo immersed.
As are many of my listeners, I think.
And it's so funny because I'm Woo averse, so that's a fantastic sort of dynamic at play here.
Perfect.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great conversation.
So just on Saturday, my wife is very kind of resplendently pro psilocybin, and so we have to do it all the time now. And in the throes of Saturday afternoon, I said to myself, that vibration that's kind of in my ear, that's the divine feminine. It's rubbing up against me. I offer everything to her. And I think I kind of equate harmony and the divine feminine all in one being, but it's like the Atman and the Paramatman. And so like everything is the divine feminine, but also she is a kind of molecular feminine. Is that kind of where you land with this whole thing?
Sounds like you're not totally woo averse.
That's a great observation. I think my question is this, because you identify as a witch, true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that like being Gaelic? You can just identify as Gaelic?
I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
That's my question, though.
it's not
How
an
do you get
ethnic-
to be a witch?
It's not an ethnic identity.
Yeah, no. Whereas like Gaelic or Celtic, you could have ancestry that would link you to that cultural, right? And witchcraft typically or traditionally could be historical, familial, but the way that I approach the description of witch or what it means to be a witch, the root of the word is really just wise woman. And it wasn't until the burning times in Europe in the 15 and 1600s that the word witch really became this like slur or meant evil or bad, or that magic was evil or bad. Before that, magic was just part of life. And the people who were most branded as witches during that time were typically the healers, the people with the knowledge of the plants and the herbs and who you turned to for advice and support, the wise old women of the community. And when I started to toy with the word witch, I asked people what it meant to them, and outside of my mom's generation who are like, oh, could you use a different word? Scary, green skin, warty, flies on a broomsticks, has a thirst for children. Most people were saying, like connected with nature and wise and uses plants as medicine. Then I came across a woman named Carmen Spagnola. She's Canadian as well. And she wrote a book called The Spirited Kitchen, and it's a cookbook that follows the seasons. But at the beginning, she talks about witchcraft and what it means to her. And her definition, when I read it, just landed like, yes, that's why I'm claiming this word as one of the ways I describe myself. And she says, if resisting oppression, reclaiming my body as my own, praying to my ancestor tree, fighting for collective liberation, and organizing around a culture of care and dignity for all makes me a witch, my friend, I am that.
I love that. That's so good. I had this beautiful old, she's not old actually, but older than me, woman in one of my yoga classes, not last year, but the year before that. And I was facilitating a spinal energetic session on her, and she's like quite cosmically connected to other planes of reality. because
woo curious.
She's woo immersive too.
She's woo immersive, yeah.
Yeah. And so because, as soon as she said to me, she said, I'm quite sensitive to the energy word. So just to give you a warning. And I was like, okay, well, you can be however you want to be. And as soon as the session started, she just kind of she goes to another plane. She just goes off and her whole body's just and so then, and after she was saying what an amazing session it was and all these places she went traveling to in her consciousness. And then she said, the witches are back, baby. And it was sort of like reading that definition for me. I was like, yes, we are.
Yes, we are. And isn't it this? I posted on Instagram last week. I was like, isn't it interesting how the very people who are the most likely to point their finger at women and call them a witch are the very ones who actually have a thirst for little children?
That's good.
I thought so.
Oh my goodness.
It's so true. Oh my god.
I was like, this is
projection is a real thing. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you claimed this as one of your identities.
When did you do that?
I came out of the proverbial broom closet.
The cupboard.
The cupboard 3 years ago. I guess it will be, will this be my 4th witchiversary or my 3rd? I can't quite remember, but it was about 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it mean to be a witch for those who are listening? And if they're like, yes, I love that definition. I resonate with this conversation. I feel like this is me. What do we have to do to really claim our witchiness?
I think you just have to claim it. If it feels like it's not it's not a religion, you don't need to be admitted into it. I'm not a Wiccan, for example, and I should clarify because people get that mixed up often.
Yeah.
All Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccan. Wicca is a religion that was invented in the 1970s, and there are plenty of people who are part of that religion. I am not.
I'm going to look that word up.
Yeah,
Wicca,
I think that's what I kind of identify, maybe would have stopped me from saying, oh, I'm a witch, is I'm I don't really want to be a part of
anything organized, religious,
specific
or
group.
Otherwise. Yeah, exactly.
It focuses on honoring nature, the goddess, and horned god. And that's who I encountered on Saturday. For sure.
The goddess and the horned god. And that's relating to the Celtic lore and history, right?
Yes.
We have the green man and the goddess. There's all sorts of links to the way that the horned deities through time turned into Satan when Christianity got a hold of it all. But there is definitely that cyclical living piece of, for me and for many, what it means to identify as a witch. I think a lot of it these days, I might describe it as a rejection of Cartesian dualism. I am not separate from nature. I am nature. I am not separate. My mind and my body are not separate. They are one. I am not separate from you or from any other being on this earth. There's animism to it for me as well, that the world is animate and ensouled. It's much less out of body than it is in body, in the way that I walk through the world with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a witch.
After I developed this kind of white streak in my hair, I said, that's my war
Oh,
law.
yeah.
But it does sound like you've been encountering a lot of entheogens, and they've kind of been,
I don't know that word.
It's a new term because psychedelics are kind of not... They don't encompass enough of the experience. And so people are using the word entheogens now to talk about plants that create
altered states of consciousness
or empathic connection to all inanimate beings.
Outside of within my knowledge, the only plants that I've encountered in that sense are psilocybin.
Okay, well that would do it.
And I guess marijuana, but not for a long time. But psilocybin, yes, I have been with psilocybin. I've played with it.
That's how people say it. Yeah, I've been with her.
Yeah.
Goodness. And do you feel like that was a catalyst for you, or do you feel like there was a kind of a wave for this kind of bent all through your life?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit more of the former, but there were multiple catalysts. Like when I first played around with psilocybin. I was 16 and just drinking and doing some drugs, and there wasn't anything to it that I could recognize. But I've always had a connection to nature and this really strong sense that humans are not like the supreme species and should be in charge of everything. So there's that piece of me for a long time. And then as I started to dabble in, getting woo curious, I left a relationship that was quite controlling. I often say he was a reformed Christian. He became an atheist in the way that only Christians can become atheists. Which is to say, like, nothing beyond cold, hard fact, science provable beyond a reasonable doubt exists. And so it wasn't even a safe place to entertain any kind of spiritual curiosity. And when I left, I started to entertain it, and I started to see connections where I hadn't been able to see them before. And I'm a huge reader. It was another book that really, I feel like, cracked me open. It's called If Women Rose Rooted by Sharon Blackie. Oh. And it's her story, but it is kind of a lot of what I speak to. The ideas were sparked by her. She's from England, and she looks at the history and the myth and the stories and the ways in which we've lost that connection to lineage, to land, to heritage and ancestry, and the magic of the world. She's written several books about kind of re-enchanting our lives as well. And so that was probably it's the turning point that I can put my finger on. There's lots of little portals along the way.
Amazing. Is there like any practices or any specific things like rituals or things that you would do if you were like, okay, I'm ready to claim this identity?
I think what you mean is like an initiation. Is there an initiation ceremony where like senior witches kind of like took you? It was like, whoop, now you're down the rabbit hole.
I wish. I do not come from a lineage of witches, and I don't have a long-standing coven. I think there probably are places and people where something like that does exist, but
we can create our own here.
We can create our own.
You're gonna need some 12-year-old girls for sure. And
no,
then
we're not eating children.
No, but you're gonna want a new generation. This thing, you do get a lot of older men that initiate young people into their religion,
and we don't want that. That's kind of the contrary of what we're after, but. But I do think that there is a rise of women gathering together and having these kind of, I don't even know if it's always ceremony or if it's just connection points, but if you are, you're like, I feel like a witch, I feel like I want to be, if I'm drawn in, I always just say with everything that I'm teaching and sharing, find the things that spark your interest and play with them. Let yourself follow that guidance, that intuition. For me, the path in was through starting to pay attention to the wheel of the year. And so that's that. It's a pagan calendar, the Wiccans follow it, but it's also an ancient agricultural way of marking time. If you start dabbling in it and you're reading it, some of the wording and some of the traditions are quite new, but a lot of it, and what really fascinates me, again, is that the Celtic roots of it all, where most of my ancestors come from. And these moments have been marked for thousands of years, the solstices, the equinoxes, and then the midway points in between. And so we've got these really kind of just moments that are like anchor points in the calendar to tune in and sense into, okay, what's the energy out in the world doing? What's the earth offering up in terms of wisdom and guidance? And for me, that's been the biggest piece. And all it takes is like looking outside and noticing from time to time at the most simple. And then it can go all the way up to, I hold ceremony for each of these moments through the year and invite women to join me in that practice. And that feels really potent doing it in community, but it can be so simple. I think we overcomplicate things, and especially right now with the busyness, the fullness, the overwhelm of the world, if something's calling, it can be really easy to be like, I don't have time and space for that. So making it as accessible as possible for yourself, I think, is really important.
It's interesting. I lived some time overseas in England, and you can be adjacent to people who are very sensitive to like ley lines and herbs and this sort of witchy stuff. And then you start to notice, like, you go to places like Avebury or Stonehenge, and it's like, wow, there's like a real comprehensive, like the geography has been comprehensively laid out for ley lines. Are you sensitive to anything like that in Alberta? Is there a kind of First Nation sensitivity to magnetic lines in our province?
I personally often feel like I am a visitor on these lands. Still, ever since kind of opening myself to this side of life, I guess, I have a relationship with the land in Calgary where I spend time. The wildlands behind my home are a place where I have a relationship, and it's as reciprocal as it can be. But I don't necessarily tune into the sacred sites here. Mm-hmm. When I visited Ireland for the first time 3 years ago, I had an incredible sense. I got off the plane and my whole body was like, it was the first time that the words, my bones remember this place, just came. And it was this calling. I go there, I'm like, I want to lay in the land and just immerse myself in it, in all the cold and the wet. I've never enjoyed windy, wet hail as much as I did in Ireland.
It's ideal to our skin condition.
Yeah. Yes, it really is. It really is. And yeah, it's been really interesting because I, as I mentioned, I grew up in Canmore. And after starting to practice tuning in and listening, when I go back there now, I have a real sense that the land is like, you don't belong here. Get off. There's this
amazing.
And having lived in Canmore, it's grown and it moved up the sides and it cut off all the animal corridors, and they're blasting away half the mountain to make cement, and it's painful. We're not proper stewards of it. I think the land might feel differently if we were stewarding things a bit more in balance, but there is a sense of like, get out.
You're not going to get real proper stewardship unless you go to British Columbia, probably.
Even then.
And even there, like the logging and the deforestation and then the flooding and then the fires, because we're not stewarding it. Yeah.
I have another question. The thing that makes me woo averse, and we had an argument about this even Saturday afternoon.
This is our main argument.
It's our main argument. I don't know how she knows what I'm going to talk about.
Oh, I'm in it. Good.
But I am averse to positive aspiration, where if you make a little prayer, because this is how I was raised, and I fucking hated it. If you make a little prayer to your little Jesus, then good things will happen to you. And they never did happen to me. And so what I prefer to see, have a kind of rationalist relationship, if I do the work and make connections, then in that way I think things will work out if I just work. But if I positively aspire to work, then I'm like, I don't know if having a positive mental framework is going to do anything for me. So to put the witchcraft in that context, I admire, I'm going to use local honey because I think that's going to affect my immune system. I'm going to find some way to make sage and thyme, improve my memory. I'm going to really make use of the earth in an informed way that isn't clinical and pharmaceutical, that will positively affect my environment. That sounds amazing. And then every chemical that's available in any plant is up for grabs at that point. But if, on New Year's, we're making candles and praying that we're going to have a good
We weren't
year.
praying, we were manifesting, we were spell casting.
I don't know if those words are different. And then, we did the candle on March 1st, where we lit the candle and we had to do a kind of ceremony. And I'm like, I don't think this is going to do anything for our March.
I'll tell you about our sacred ceremony, and then you can respond to his.
Sure.
So on the New Year, we made oil with different essential oils in it. I won't go into all the details, but then we have 12 candles, and we put the oil on the candles with the spell.
Oh, that was fun.
See, you are a witch.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
And then we wrapped them up in wax paper with a little tie around them all. And then we lit them all with the spell. So they all got lit. And then after they burned a little bit, then we put them all out and put them in a box and burnt only the first one. And then every last day of the month and first day of the month, we light it again, so that we're constantly having this New Year's revival, renewal ceremony every month.
I'm strong with this.
And he's struggling with the spell casting, manifestation, candle making.
Local honey sounds good.
I think both are equally magical. And so I guess my take on stuff like that, especially because I often share that, 4 or 5 years ago, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in any of this. And so my avenue into a lot of this kind of other side of life was through neuroscience and what we're starting to learn about manifestation. I've got a few books up there about manifestation that are based, like the source is written by a woman who's got her PhD in neuroscience. Mind Magic is another one. He's like a brain surgeon or something. I don't know. They're like very scientifically rooted. And I think that something like that, part of it is ritual. And ritual is something that we've really lost as a culture. And I think it's a really important way of presencing ourselves to the moment of noting the passage of time so that we don't just let it rush by us, and of renewing our commitment to ourselves or each other or desires, right? And those things are powerful in our brains. Just if you're trying to call in, I don't know, speaking opportunities, and you're like, I'm going to light the candle, I'm going to do the thing, but then you're going to go out and you're going to talk about it, and you're going to share, and you're going to speak, and you're going to ask to be in people's communities, like on this podcast. And so you're manifesting through action. You can't just sit in your home and light a candle and go like, oh, I hope, I'm going to wish really hard and believe really hard. Nothing's going to happen if you don't also match that energy with action in the world. And witchcraft is the same. There's lots of, anointing I have a money bowl beside me right now as we speak that has like all sorts of little things. And it's got, and mine has lots of stuff in it. It's got rice as a base, which is pretty typical. There's cinnamon, there's a bay leaf, there's a green candle for money.
That is American currency, madam.
There's American currency because I'm calling in both. I love it when people pay me in American dollars because I charge the same number of American dollars as Canadian dollars. And I'm like, great, let's bring in this abundance. And I know that like I light that candle every morning and I sink into what I want and what I'm calling in. But I know that if I then don't go out and do the work in the world and show up and create the value for people to then want to give me money for, it's not going to do anything but sit there.
Well, that's interesting because it's very generous of you as well, because one of the things that we spent a lot of time in India together, and one of the things that I did as a pastime is I trained as a pujari, which is a person who initiates the ceremony of awakening the gods, and
which is magic.
No. What it is you're going through a ritual to awaken the consciousness of the self manifest as material. And there is no God. It's just a piece of tin in a box that you wake up, but you're really waking yourself up. And that's what she's talking about, is going out and now awake with ritualized, activated. Now go out into the world and talk to your woo-curious collaborator. And that's cool.
But that's everything. That the world isn't the way that it is. Like, we see the world the way that we are, not the way that it is. And so this ritual of waking yourself up or creating higher consciousness in yourself creates higher consciousness in the world.
Yes. Yeah, and allows you to go out and experience the world the way that you desire to. Again, it's like those thoughts that we think on repeat, whether you or not you believe you're like physically attracting them to you or just noticing them. It can be as simple as your like RAS, and like you buy a new car and all of a sudden everybody drives that same car as you. No, they don't. There's the same number of those cars on the road. You're just noticing them. And so it's the same thing with all of these tools and tricks of manifestation and magical practices, is you're creating and putting your body into a state of either feeling or believing or dreaming about that desired state, and then you're more aware to the places where it presents, the opportunities that there are there for you to embody it even more fully or bring it into your life more fully.
Did your family or like people in your life respond kind of strangely?
How did they respond?
Yeah, that's interesting. My partner's, who are you? Poor man. He started dating me. We've been together, actually, our anniversary is in 2 days, for 5 years. And so he really...
Oh, yeah.
He got the whole storyline. But he's skeptical for sure. More so even than you, I think. But he's, he'll come down, he'll be like, what do the cards say today? Or he tries to understand a little bit more about what I'm doing. And then, it's funny because I put up a poll when I was like, I think I'm going to start calling myself a witch. My business coach at the time asked if I would call myself one because I was going to put a master class on called Light Witchcraft for the Woo Curious. And she was like, do you consider yourself a witch? And I was like, I don't know. Do I? I'm not sure. And so I took it to Instagram, as we do. I put up a poll, and I had 3 options. It was either, like I said, would you be surprised if I started calling myself a witch? Answer A, no, not at all. Answer B, don't you already? And answer C, yes, that would be surprising. Nobody answered C. I got a lot of you don't alreadys.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I was a midwife before I did this. We're the original witches. I had a broom hanging, like a beautiful handcrafted broom hanging in my kitchen in my old house. And yeah.
Do you remember the poet that married us in our backyard?
Yes.
She had a full-on broom.
Yeah,
in
she's
her...
a witch too.
Oh, did you get to jump the broom as part of your marriage ceremony?
No, we did a Scottish
we did the
rite.
tying of the cloth, the knotting.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we should invite her to our coven.
We should invite her to I was going to say the podcast, but yes, that as well.
We're starting a coven.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the beginning. This is the inaugural visit.
Yeah, and then the children.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think anybody was too surprised, and my family's supportive and thinks it's interesting and cool. And definitely, I know my dad was answering somebody's question, what's Eileen up to these days? He's like, I don't know, some woo stuff. And they were like, oh, thinking he was, being offensive, because the term woo and woo-woo was another of those slurs thrown, oh, she's woo, she's crazy. Much more socially acceptable now. And it maybe a little trending even.
Trending.
Yeah. But no, they're really supportive and lovely about it overall, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's so great. Okay, so how do you help people if they come to you and they're what do people come to you for? Do they come to you saying, I want to be a witch, can you help me? Or I have a big life problem, can you fix it? What do they do?
That is a really great question. Yes. I work multiple ways, but so I'm a certified life coach, and I do spiritual coaching if I have to narrow that down to a niche. I'm a trained energy healer as well. So I do remote energy healings, people one-on-one. And then I have a couple of different, I guess you could call them covens. We don't always identify that way, but I have a 12-week program called Unleash Your Inner Witch that is explicitly, the subtitle is A Beginner's Course in Witchcraft for the Woo Curious. And I'm actually, as we're speaking, I just pushed back the start date so I can just lean into it a little bit more. But I've run it several times. I just increased the length. So that's a group journey to learn about ritual and prayer. That word is really triggering for a lot of people. For me, it still very much is almost tied to Christianity, but it doesn't have to be part of Christianity.
Yeah.
We talk about spirit guides and journey work and altered states of consciousness and the witch wound and all sorts of stuff. So that's one of the things people come to me for. I run that twice a year. And then I have a full year mentorship program that's also a group called the Wise Wild Woman Mentorship. And that is a combination of teaching about seasonal and cyclical living. A lot of kind of the Celtic side of history comes into that. We rest together on the new moon every month. We write together. And then I have the Wheel of the Year ceremonies, which I mentioned, that those are included in all of any kind of time you're working with me in some sort of capacity. You're invited into those, but they're also open to the public. And they're hybrid, which is fun. So they're at my home in Calgary, but I have a bunch of people who come online too.
Oh, amazing.
We should mention that it is the full moon today
it is.
during the creation
and a lunar eclipse
of the broadcast.
Full moon, lunar eclipse. It is, it took us an extra 15 minutes to get on the podcast because Mercury's retrograde in Pisces.
Some disruption.
It's very disruptive.
We're out here in the...
somewhere.
Yeah, we had to get anchored back into the earth.
Yeah.
What kind of ceremonies do you do on a full moon or a new moon? I mean, you said new moon rest. What's included in that? And then what would you do for a full moon? How would they differ?
Yeah, new moons, because the energy of the new moon is, it's quiet, it's dark, it's akin to winter, or if you're in a menstruating body, it's like the bleed, your menstruation point of your cycle. So we come in, we set seeds of intention for our rest, but I do a guided journey to take us through the rest. So everybody's in, that one's online, and so everybody's just in their beds. Actually, I'm starting to offer them in person in Calgary as well.
Oh, nice.
Out of the yoga studio at my gym at Solace Strength. So that's a new to me, but we really just take some time to drop into our bodies and take like an hour of guided, dedicated rest is something that most of us don't give ourselves. And so it's mostly that with some intention as we go in. A good time for setting seeds of intention, if you will. And then full moons, I'm really bad at celebrating and honoring full moons. I'm like, oh, it's a full moon, cool. That's good. But, it's good time for shadow work because it's illuminating the things that are usually in the dark. So doing some journaling, reflection practices, looking back over the last 2 weeks, what seeds did you plant 2 weeks ago? But I typically don't do actual ritual at full moon unless I'm feeling like I have the evening and I have time and space for it. It's often just like staring out the window at the moon for a little while.
That's
just
a nice
what I did
ritual.
last night. Yeah. I did make moon water in that bottle right there.
And had it had the moon light go into the water.
Yeah. So putting a glass container out, either in the windowsill or outside, somewhere where the moonlight will hit it. It's making moon water, and then you might use it in ritual or spell work. I like putting it in my diffuser.
Yeah.
I thought maybe there would be some bodily secretion involved.
No.
I'm glad to hear.
No. No.
You can also clean your crystals with it too.
Yeah.
Or even put
Although
your
this
crystals
particular
in the
moon
moonlight
water
too,
probably
right?
you don't want to because it's eclipse water, which is like more for some like serious
That's right.
feistier work than your typical moon water.
Yeah. What makes the eclipse different?
Well, I learned most of what I know about eclipse energy from Chani Nicholas. I don't know if you follow her. She's great. But the eclipse is a time when, in her teachings, we don't do ritual with eclipse. We kind of like hunker down and weather eclipse. Any kind of eclipse is a flickering on and off of our power source or our light source. The energy in the sky goes dark when it shouldn't be. So for our ancestors, it was usually a time of like kind of fear and disturbance. It was like a bad omen. It wasn't a time to be like out dancing and harnessing this energy. It was kind of like, okay, hunker down and get through. This is kind of scary. So there is that sense. And I often feel that eclipses are kind of chaotic energy. For me, I'm feeling that a lot. Everybody in my life is, are you sleeping? Are you crying? And then really giddy. What's going on? Because we're just at the end of, it's always called an eclipse portal because there'll always be a solar eclipse followed by a lunar eclipse. Sometimes there's 3, but typically the 2. And so it's a bit of a time where things can really leap ahead or big shifts can occur, but it's also a really kind of destabilizing feeling time in the energetics. Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, right? I know, I'm blaming everything on the sky these days. I don't always, but this time around, I'm like feeling really impacted by it all.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. I think we definitely need to meet in person soon.
I think that we definitely do.
Couldn't take more than 10 minutes to get to your house.
No, I don't think so.
I did another ritual for the new moon, the last new moon that we had. I wrote out like my goals for this month or like what I wanted, my wish list on a little piece of paper and made a little scroll and tied a little ribbon around it and then placed it on my little moon altar.
Yeah, that's a lovely little ritual for sure.
And then I'm going to
That's
unwrap
perfect.
it next new moon and make a new one.
Yeah, we do. I do something similar at my Wheel of the Year ceremonies. At the end, we always make a scroll for something we're calling in or something we're committing to, whatever it might be, for the next turn of the wheel, and that stays on our altar. And then the next time around. I like to write my new one before I open the old one to see just how many times I can write the same damn thing without realizing that nothing's changed or that I'm still working on it. Okay, I'm still working on the same release or the calling in the same thing. Yeah, that reminder.
I love
takes
that
time.
tip.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun practice.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on today. And
really nice to meet you.
yeah, it was so
was
beautiful.
really nice to meet you too. Yeah, I'm so glad all three of us got to be here. It was a great conversation. This is more laughing than I do in most podcast interviews. It was good.
That's why she brings me on, is to set a tone.
Yeah.
You bring in the woo laughter,
The woo humor
the woo humor.
or something.
And if people want to listen to your podcast, it's called The Woo Curious.
Yes, it is the Woo Curious podcast, available on all the spaces. If you want to reach out, Instagram is where I kind of hang out socially. I am Eileen March is my handle there. Or you can find my website, which is eileen@myluminouslife.ca, and send me an email through that platform or connect that way.
Eileen, the Ide of March. That's good.
And so then they can like become witches too.
Exactly. Come read my feisty, fiery Instagram right now. And I've got a free witch wound masterclass up on my website. That there's a pop-up to have anybody pop onto my email list and get that free masterclass. Or you can actually listen to it on my podcast. It's there.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. And
You're
we'll put
so
all those links in
welcome.
the show notes too.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay, so here's what I'm curious about. I'm so glad you listened all the way to the end. I want you to let me know. I'm going to post a story on Instagram, but I want you to send me a DM. Am I a witch or am I not a witch? What do you think? Should I start identifying as a witch? I want to know. Where are you at? I thought that was so fun that she just went out there and started asking her people. And I'm curious. I'm curious what you think about me. It got me really thinking about it. But I also want you to take a moment and explore something today. Are you a witch? What do you think about magic? What is this spirituality or this soul purpose or this connection that we have to things that are not tangible, that are not in the body? Are you a believer or are you a skeptic? I'm really, really curious. I'd also love for you to just drop us a comment either on this episode in Instagram or in the comments on Spotify, or send me a message and let me know, where are you at with all of this? And I have another question for you. If you are open to it, how are you receiving messages? Have you taken the time to slow down and notice what is your body? What is nature? What is your soul? What is your spirit telling you? How do you hear that still small voice inside? How do you know in your cells, in your tissues, what is it that your body's trying to tell you, or this innate intelligence is trying to tell you? How do you block the messages? How do you block the listening? And what might happen if you really took the time or just slowed down? It doesn't take time necessarily at all. It just takes a moment of connection, of going within and allowing yourself to begin listening again. You know, we're all born with this capacity. We're born with an ability to connect to life force, to God or spirit or universe, whatever it is that you want to call that intelligence that's beyond our personality, that's beyond our small self. And so what happened along the way that we lost that? Where did we start doubting? Where did we start feeling separate? Where did we start identifying so much with our body and our personality that we stopped allowing ourselves to dream, to connect, to believe? So that's my challenge for you this week, just start to pay attention to the signals of your intuition or your gut feelings or your body, your inner knowingness. Start to maybe even write down, strange intuitive hits that you might get or gut instincts. Even if they don't make sense, just start to pay attention and notice how intuition, how knowingness, how all these clairaudience, clairvoyance, claircognizance is trying to come through for you, and start to develop and reconnect to your own innate intelligence. So if this conversation sparks something in you, I'd love to hear about it. If you identify as a witch, I'd also love to hear about it. And send me a message on Instagram at Harmony Slater Official. Tell me what has resonated the most with you in this week's episode. And if you're curious about exploring more about the connection between your energy, your energetic blueprint, emotional patterns, and the body's innate intelligence to heal, to rejuvenate, and to tell you things, to teach you things, then I would love to see you enroll in the Radiant Energy Method. We are beginning very, very soon on March 28th. So find the link in the show notes or send me a message with any questions that you might have. So until next week, stay curious, stay connected to that wisdom inside, and keep finding harmony in your everyday life. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.